Joining us now is Adam Weinstein, Deputy Director of the Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft's Middle East program. Adam, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
So, what role do you see the U.S. taking in all of this? Will they de-escalate, or could Trump possibly authorize military action?
Well, I think it could go either way, but the latter would be a huge mistake because it would draw the U.S. deeper into the conflict. There are U.S. troops stationed in Iraq, throughout the Gulf. There's U.S. diplomatic missions there, and I think they would all be potential targets for Iran and the militias in the region that are affiliated with Iran.
How would you characterize the current phase of this Israel-Iran conflict?
I think the current phase is that it's a mission without a clear end goal. I mean, for example, President Trump said he wants complete surrender, but it's unclear what that means. You just heard Netanyahu say that the strikes may end in the collapse of the regime. But of course, as he correctly states, that is up to the Iranian people, not to the Israelis. And it's interesting that you mentioned the ineffectiveness of the strikes on Iran's nuclear program. At the end of the day, it set back the program, but the nuclear assets that are most important to the program are deep underground, and Israeli strikes can't reach them. So it's unclear what this mission is really achieving, other than it's completely derailed the nuclear talks, which were actually succeeding.
When you look over the next, coming days, what kind of different scenarios could play out here, with or without President Trump's involvement?
Scenario one is that you could just see Israel continue to engage in these strikes and Iran continue to retaliate, and there will just be loss of civilian life on both sides to no end. Scenario two is that the Trump administration could foolishly become directly involved, and U.S. troops could be targeted in the region, or the war could become much bigger, or it could be something like a regime change war like what we saw in 2003 in Iraq. Or, a third possibility is that the Trump administration could say to Netanyahu, okay, enough is enough. We're going to try to bring the Iranians back to the negotiating table, which the Iranians have signaled that they would go back to, and we're going to try to salvage whatever diplomatic opportunity remains. And I hope it goes that latter pathway.
Trump does not want to see Iran have nuclear capabilities. Does that make it more likely that we will see the U.S. military intervene?
Possibly. I mean, I don't think anyone wants to see Iran have nuclear capabilities. But, there was a JCPOA, or the original Iran nuclear deal, that was negotiated by the Obama administration. That was in place. It was working. It was allowing the international community to monitor Iran's nuclear program. Unfortunately, during his first term, President Trump left that deal. It gave Iran 2,500 days since then to advance their program. But, even the International Atomic Energy Agency has found that they weren't doing that. They were advancing their nuclear capabilities, but they weren't yet going for the bomb. There was an opportunity for a new deal. Iran had every reason to enter a new deal for sanctions relief, for reintegration into the international community. The United States and the Iranians were set to meet again last Sunday, and unfortunately, Israel blew up the negotiating table, literally and figuratively. And I think that's the best path to prevent Iran from going to a bomb. The problem with this regime change rhetoric is it actually incentivizes Iran to go for a nuclear capability.
That is our time, Adam. Thank you very much for being here. That is Adam Weinstein, Deputy Director of Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft's Middle East program.
Thanks for having me.